Yeah, hi. I'm Dr. Wan here to talk about infertility in both men and women, hormonal imbalance, and diabetes, how the three are linked together. So, what prompted me in doing this is I was reading this book a while ago and I got to a chapter that talks about it, and I felt as making a video here to explain further what it is. I know I'm not a gynecologist, so I will try to be specific, tackling just what has to do with diabetes. So I will go ahead by looking for a gynecologist in the next video so that he or she can tackle that aspect and possibly bring in also a urologist or an andrologist that will deal also with the part for the men. Like so we have everything done in the right manner. So straight to the point, hormonal imbalance. Hormonal imbalance is one of the main causes of infertility in women today. But I will not limit the phrase that way if we say only women. I will say even in men as well, because men also do have hormones called testosterone. And at a certain point in time, that value of testosterone plummets. So it is not just men accusing women for being infertile. Men also are infertile. I know in Africa it's a taboo saying that a man is infertile, but unfortunately that is the true reality. Let's be honest. We should stop accusing the women for being infertile when the men also are in that same situation. So essentially, I always encourage both partners to go to the hospital and get those values checked. So the women will go for the estrogen, the man goes for the testosterone, including all the other hormones, because it's not just that one. But again, basically, those things have to be done on both parties. So they should stop accusing each parties of one or the other, because I know in Africa, women have suffered a lot, especially in marital homes. Families accuse them for not giving them a child, and so that's why this video is here for. Now, if you have hormonal imbalance, you will be having waist pain anytime you want to see your menses. This is just for the women. For the men, most of the time, most of the cases, you see their muscles. The muscles are not what they used to be. They're kind of shrinking. So those are some of the basic symptoms, but that's the physical aspect. But you need to also look at the biochemistry of each parties. Now, going to diabetes, which is our main topic, and that's my area of interest. We all know that diabetes type 2 has a lot to do with the sugar concentration. The sugar value spikes. But we should not only focus on sugar value. We should also look at how the cost of it, which are the factors that influences that value. Because I know of patients that they've spent years upon years taking medication and that value doesn't seem to plummet. So that's my talk today. So the key thing here it is insulin resistance. How do you get to insulin resistance? That's the question. The answer is simple. When you start putting on excess weight, that's when trouble starts. So when you put on this excess weight, fatty tissues builds up around the pancreas. So the islet of Langerhans, where you find the beta cells of the pancreas, are not able to produce enough insulin that goes into the blood and bring down the sugar concentration. So that's the summary. Again, the pancreas is not able to produce sufficient insulin that is needed for it to metabolize sugar that is being up in the blood. Consequently, your doctor now will put you on a typical medication, say metformin, classical one, or the glycolides, or the glucagon and all those things to see how things comes back to normal. Or in most cases, they even add on insulin. That should be the short acting in the morning and the long acting in the evening. That keeps you all through the night. Like so, we are able to monitor those values. Having said that, another issue that could lead to infertility, both men and women, is the type of food. A good example are processed food. Processed food, be careful with it, because processed food do have chemicals. Those chemicals could easily interact with your hormones, which result in what we call hormonal disruption or endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptors are found all over the place. For instance, those who are fond of drinking water in bottles. I will not encourage anyone to drink water in bottles. Plastic container should be away from you. Keep them far away as much as you can. That's another aspect. Second aspect are sex toys. Those sex toys also have a lot to do with your hormones because they are the way they're being made up of. They contain microplastics. They are loaded with phthalates. So phthalates come from microplastics that transform into what we call leaching. So they leach into your blood cells and then start interrupting with your hormones. That's another key that you have to understand. If you are fond of using sex toys, then you might find yourself in trouble also. So that's another thing. Now, having said that, all those things can be handled provided you are aware of what it is. So going back to the sugar itself, normally the human body, when we eat food, it does kind of stockaging when there's excess. Say for instance, I could not eat a smaller quantity, I took excess, then something has to be done. So you find what we call glycogen. So glycogen actually are glucose transformed into that structure and packed somewhere within your body. And when you need them, that's when the system now go back and break it down to bring it back to glucose that you need it for energy. So there's a process we call glycogenolysis or glycogenolysis, which is a breakdown process back to glycogen. And then we have now the other process called glycogenesis, that is storing. So those two words, so one is breakdown, the other one is to build up. Having said that, there's the third one, which is called gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis, meaning that glucose is being rebuilt. So neo means new, and genesis means beginning. So the body is able now to make new ones, and those new ones can be made from non-carbs. For instance, if you are fond of eating excess meat, that way you can also have excess glucose in your system. So it can come from fatty tissues, it can come from the protein. So that's how glucose builds up in the body. So back again, we have three processes. We have glycogenolysis, number one, glucogenesis, number 2, and gluconeogenesis. So those are the 3 aspects that leads to your blood having excess glucose. So having said that, it's left for you now to discipline yourself. I remember one of my professors, a Japanese, actually made a good statement that which he terms it as the laws of the numbers. The laws of the numbers. Meaning that if you take a smaller quantity, that value of glucose in the blood won't spike. But if you take a higher number, definitely that value will spike. And it's common as we are growing older. When we grow older, the organs, especially the pancreas, undergo aging. That aging process is called apoptosis. So apoptosis is, in common lay term, it is programmized cells death. Programmized cells death. So there's little you can do. You might slow down the process, but you can't stop it. And to slow down apoptosis is to run away from meat. Meat is a dead food. So the best option will be to pay more attention on a particular meal, like beans. Black beans is the ideal one. It slows down that process by acting on telomerase. So when black beans, you have enough in your diet, it slows down the telomerase, and also the cells now stays longer. And it renders the pancreas more efficient. The beta cells now are able to secrete insulin. Remember that there's what we call signal pathways. The signal pathway is another way by which human cells, or the cells, the beta cells to be more precise, around the pancreas, they communicate. Just like I am talking to you now. That's how cells also communicate, because they are all living organisms. There must be that communication, otherwise things will not work. So if you don't have that communication in your pancreas, that's when your situation gets worse. That is, the sugar spikes because there's no communication. At the level of the interstitial cells, the interstitial tissues, those things, they are not working. So there must be an efficient signal pathway ongoing. If those things are there, your blood sugar won't spike. And having said that, you are able now to have a proper hormonal functions. Whether you are a male or you are a female, things should be fine for you. So make sure you check those values. Check your body mass index. The body mass indexes for both women and male are very important. For men, you should not go more than 9. For women, you should not go more than 7.5. If you truly want to have a baby without complication, then that's what has to be done. So that's my message for you tonight, and feel free to get back to me, and do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as my Facebook page. And remember, prevention is better than cure, as we say, but I want to modify that statement. Prevention is not only better than cure, but also cheaper, because if you do the right thing, you won't even get to that point or even trying to cure yourself. But so that's the message to you. So I don't have much again to say, but have a wonderful evening. Thank you, and bye-bye. Ciao.